All right, diving right in, AI, it's everywhere you look, everyone's talking about it, and honestly, it's hard to keep up. That's why we're here today, right? You've brought a ton of really interesting articles and analyses. Let's try to cut through all the hype and figure out what actually matters in AI right now, what's really changing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like every day there's a new breakthrough or a new concern. So what we've got here is a really good mix from AI.MAG, talking about things like Germany's whole digital future, the crazy advancements in AI art. Heck, we even have stuff on the future of data centers. It's a lot to cover, but I think we can really pull out some key insights for our listeners.
Okay, I'm game. Let's start with Germany. AI.MAG has been digging into their post-election scene. Looks like a seedy USPD coalition government, but it's still a bit of a mystery where AI and digitalization actually fall on their priority list.
Well, and that's the thing, right? You can't look at Germany in isolation. You've got the US, and then there's China, totally laser-focused on being a digital superpower. It's putting a lot of pressure on Germany and Europe to figure out where they stand.
For sure, and the pressure is definitely on. I mean, AI.MAG quotes several German state leaders calling for more federal investment, less red tape, a bolder AI strategy. There's a clear sense that Europe can't just sit back and watch while companies like DeepSeek, OpenAI, Anthropic call all the shots. They need their own path.
Yeah, and that's the big question, isn't it? Can Europe really carve out a unique space for itself in this global AI race? The articles we have definitely point to a strong desire to do just that, but it's going to be an uphill battle given how fast AI innovation is happening elsewhere.
Speaking of fast innovation, one of the things that really caught my eye was this rise of powerful open source AI models. DeepSeek, for instance, they've apparently released a model that beats even some of OpenAI's stuff in math and logic. And get this. They trained it on a fraction of the resources.
Yeah, that's a major development. I mean, it's not just about the cost savings here. The articles highlight some pretty clever architectural innovations that DeepSeek's using. This might actually mean that we're moving away from this idea that bigger is always better in AI. It could level the playing field a bit, let smaller research groups make some real contributions.
That's exciting. But of course, we can't talk about AI without talking about the elephant in the room. The sheer amount of energy it gobbles up, all these massive data centers, it's mind-boggling how much power they need.
It is. I mean, just looking at some of these figures for 2023, China's electricity consumption is through the roof, something like 9,200 terawatt hours. That's a huge jump. The U.S. is at a more stable 4,000 TWH, and Germany, significantly lower at 466.2 TWH, actually saw a small decrease.
But when you look at it per capita, that's where it gets interesting. The U.S. is using way more energy per person.
Right, 12.7 megawatt hours per year in the U.S., compared to 6.6 megawatt edge in China and 5.6 megawatt edge in Germany. You got to figure in the different industries and how each country generates power, of course. And it's interesting to note that Germany is getting more and more of its energy from renewables, up to 56% in 2023.
Yeah.
But also, it became a net importer of electricity for the first time in 20 years.
So much to consider there. And amidst all this talk about energy, AI.MAG introduces us to a company most of us have probably never heard of. Maschinen Fabrik Rheinhausen, or MR, is there, well, kind of behind the scenes, but they're playing a huge role in how the world's power infrastructure works.
And you know what's wild? They've got a near monopoly on this thing called load tap changers. Imagine your house's water pipes. You need valves to regulate the pressure, right? Well, load tap changers do the same thing, but for electricity. They control the voltage as it flows through those giant transformers, keeping the grid stable and making sure power gets where it needs to go.
I'm getting a little lost with the technical stuff, but the point is, these load tap changers are essential. And MR is the king of load tap changers. They even say half of the world's electricity flows through their equipment.
Exactly. The article uses this example of Aluminium North, or Elenorf, a huge aluminum producer. They use tons of reactive power, and it's MR's tech that helps them manage this load and keep their voltage in check. It's a reminder that even the stuff we don't see can have a massive impact.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about the energy problem. Is there any hope? AI.MAG also dives into some potential solutions, and one that really stood out was apparently a company called QA&T in Stuttgart is leading the way here.
And it's a pretty radical idea. Instead of using electricity like traditional computer chips, these chips use photons light. It's way faster, generates way less heat. I mean, we're talking about using light to do the thinking.
Whoa. Okay, so QA&T is working on these light-based chips. Sounds like science fiction, honestly, but they're actually doing it. They've even got a pilot production line going. They want to make a blueprint for high-performance chip production right here in Europe, which could be a game changer, right? Less reliance on those global supply chains.
That's the idea. Their tech uses this thing called thin-film lithium niobate, which lets them manipulate light signals at super high speeds while using very little energy. They're claiming like a 30x energy saving just for a simple 8-bit multiplication. And they're not stopping there. They want to ship these native processing servers to data centers everywhere. Imagine, they say, they could potentially reduce energy consumption for large language models by 90 times and increase data center capacity by 100 times. I mean, that's pretty ambitious, but if they can pull it off, it'd be huge.
Huge indeed. Now, another interesting voice in the mix is Dr. Thomas Frick. He's pushing for a more decentralized approach to computing infrastructure, which makes a lot of sense if we're trying to reduce energy consumption.
Yeah, he's got some really cool ideas. Like, imagine data centers, not in these giant warehouses, but in smaller containers, spread out, maybe even integrated right into residential areas. They could provide redundancy, backup in case of a problem, and they could even be used for heating. Pretty ingenious, right? He also brings up the issue of copper. The demand's going way up because of the shift to renewables and all this AI development. He's saying we got to start thinking about resource limitations too. Resource limitations, energy consumption, it's a lot to juggle. But let's shift gears a bit, explore how AI is actually impacting different sectors. AI art, for example. AI.MAG had this fascinating discussion with SLP Gallery about how AI art is really starting to gain acceptance. What's interesting is that they don't really see AI as its own art form. They're saying it's more like a tool, a medium, similar to a paintbrush or a camera. It's the human artist who's still driving the creative process, the concept, the intention. AI is just the instrument.
Makes you think about that famous auction at Christie's a few years back. That AI-generated portrait by the Obvious Collective really brought AI art into the mainstream. And speaking of Obvious, their Mind Eye project is taking things to a whole new level.
Yeah, they're working on something pretty incredible, translating thoughts directly into images using fMRI and AI. I mean, talk about blurring the lines between art and neuroscience. They're working with research institutions to decode brain activity and actually reconstruct visual representations from thoughts. It's amazing. They were even able to replicate the results of a Princeton University study on image decoding from fMRI data.
Imagine just thinking about an image and having the AI create it for you. Pretty wild. But okay, moving from the canvas to the game console, AI is also making some serious waves in the gaming world. AI.MAG featured companies like Noctua Interactive and Lovelace Studios doing some cool stuff.
Noctua Interactive is all about using AI to streamline game development, making the process more efficient without sacrificing creativity. Especially for a smaller studio like them, being able to prototype faster, get player feedback early on, it can make all the difference.
Right, and then there's Lovelace Studios. They're building this whole AI-driven metaverse called Nyric. It's a survival craft game with these AI companions called Feybots.
And the speed at which they're developing Nyric is amazing. They're relying heavily on user-generated content, but still maintaining a very specific artistic vision for the world. It's fascinating.
What strikes me about Nyric is how they're connecting all these player-created worlds together, kind of a new take on social gameplay. It's refreshing, actually. But all right, stepping out of the entertainment realm, we're also seeing AI being used for, getting stuff done, increasing productivity, AI agents, they're calling them. The magazine uses Manus AI as an example.
Yeah, Manus AI is a good example of how these AI agents can help with complex tasks. Like, imagine trying to develop a marketing strategy. It can be overwhelming. But these AI agents can gather info, analyze data, make recommendations, even help you implement and monitor campaigns. The idea is to free up humans to focus on the creative and strategic aspects.
So basically AI taking care of the grunt work so we can focus on the big picture. Sounds good to me. And of course, we can't forget about healthcare. AI is making a real difference there too, from diagnostics to documentation, even personalized medicine.
Yeah, I mean, AI.MAG mentions AI achieving 95% accuracy in detecting breast cancer. That's incredible. And it can help with all the paperwork too. We're seeing AI telephone assistants in clinics like Phonio.ai and AI-powered practice management systems like Nosk AI.
Taking care of the routine stuff so doctors can spend more time with patients, definitely a good thing. But all this AI stuff, it requires skilled people, right? AI.MAG really emphasizes the importance of AI education.
Absolutely. We need a workforce that's ready for the AI age. Luckily, there are initiatives like the KI campus in Germany offering free AI courses to everyone. They've got everything from deep learning to generative AI to prompt engineering, all available on different platforms.
Makes sense. The more people understand AI, the better equipped we'll be to utilize it effectively. I also saw something about HAWKI2, an open source platform for higher education specifically focused on AI. Sounds like they want to integrate AI into teaching itself.
Exactly. It's about preparing the next generation of educators and researchers to leverage AI in their work. It's clear that continuous learning and upskilling are crucial if we want to harness the full potential of AI.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about the future of work and all these amazing possibilities, we can't forget about the less glamorous side of the digital world.
Right, the hidden costs, like the environmental impact of all this cloud computing and data storage. It's a huge issue. Data centers already account for a significant chunk of global carbon emissions, and that's only going to get worse.
It's easy to forget about it, but yeah, the cloud has a real physical footprint. And think about this. Estimates suggest that something like 50% of cloud resources are just sitting there unused. That's a ton of wasted energy. Some people are proposing that we use AI agents to manage these resources more efficiently, reduce that digital waste.
AI cleaning up after itself. I like it. Okay, before we wrap up, there were a couple of other interesting tidbits I wanted to touch on. One was this whole concept of longevity, the idea of using technology to extend lifespan and health span. Apparently, AI could play a big role here too.
Yeah, it's fascinating. AI could potentially analyze all those massive medical data sets we have, help personalize health recommendations, even help us understand our genetic risks better. Certainly an area to watch.
Definitely. Okay, last but not least, we got to talk about the big question. What does all this AI mean for jobs? The articles present both sides of the coin, some predicting massive job losses, others saying it will create brand new opportunities.
It's the million-dollar question, right? I think the important takeaway here is that AI will undoubtedly transform the job market. Some jobs will disappear, but new ones will emerge. It's happened throughout history with technological advancements. The challenge is to adapt, to equip ourselves with the skills needed for this new landscape.
Adapt and evolve. Couldn't agree more. Now, before we let you go, there were a couple of AI news items that caught my attention. First, that Elon Musk apparently tried to buy OpenAI for a cool $100 billion.
Oh yeah, I read about that. Apparently they turned him down. It just goes to show you how much power and influence these AI companies are wielding. It's also a reminder that there are different visions for the future of AI, and these power struggles are definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. And on a slightly different note, Scale AI, they're the ones who scored that billion-dollar contract with the U.S. Department of Defense, right? To develop AI agents for military simulations and analysis?
Yep, that's right. Seems like AI is becoming more and more important for military strategy and planning. Kind of a sobering thought, to be honest.
It is. But hey, let's end on a positive note. AI.MAG gave us a sneak peek at GITEX Europe, the giant tech and startup fair that's coming to Berlin in May 2025.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. GITEX is huge, and the fact that it's coming to Europe, to Berlin, really shows that Europe wants to be a major player in the tech world. They're going to have a huge focus on AI, showcasing the global AI 100 startups, and a bunch of other stuff like digital transformation, cybersecurity, green technologies. It's a real statement about Europe's ambitions in the global tech arena.
So to wrap things up, we've covered a ton of ground today, from the global AI race and the challenges of energy and resources to the mind-blowing applications in art, gaming, healthcare. We talked about the need for AI skills and how the whole job market is going to be reshaped. It's a crazy, exciting, and sometimes scary world out there.
And with that in mind, I think we should leave our listeners with a question to ponder. Considering everything we've discussed, where do you see the biggest opportunities arising from AI? And maybe even more importantly, what are the potential pitfalls, the ethical dilemmas, the things that keep you up at night? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Great question. Let us know what you think. And thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the ever-evolving world of AI.
It's been a pleasure.
Moving him out of the plate, tight handshake, cold gravel. Few cards left to lay, just a war-torn heart ravel. Words of anger ain't spoken out loud. Why is he still raving? No cash in the vault, Fort Knox trunk tight. Victory spitting truth, versus the rhyme just like a rebel. Changing the game when funds flee the chapel. Flashlights on the stumble, words like a blade.